Welcome back to Let's Vibe Podcast. In today's episode, I am doing my full review of Seismic Dance Event. I did a recap on my YouTube channel, and so in today's podcast episode, we are going all in on what went down at Seismic Dance Event 3.3. I'm going to talk about the overall festival experience, the new venue, health and safety, festival logistics, and lots more to come. So without further ado, let's vibe into today's episode. Welcome back, you guys, to Let's Vibe Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I know I took a little bit of hiatus after Seismic. I took a little bit of a break just to kind of like decompress, get my thoughts together. And so I'm so excited to be sitting here with you guys today and just gonna dive into everything. I did do a recap on my YouTube channel. That's kind of like some of the highlights, the main things to talk about with this festival. But this episode is just gonna go all in on everything Seismic Dance Event and what went down. It was a really great weekend. I had an awesome time. And so we're just going to talk about all the things that happened with this festival. And this was also my last festival until the fall festivals come. So we'll kind of debrief about everything with that as I take a little bit of a hiatus going into the fall festivals. Housekeeping stuff. I will say, this is going to be my first announcement of it, is that I will be taking a break from Let's Vibe Podcast. So you will have one more episode. I had a guest collaboration episode that'll be coming next week. And so that will be the last episode. That's going to be episode 40, which will also be episode 50 overall. So I do mini vibes podcast episodes for people that don't know. And so technically next week's episode will be episode number 50. It'll be full length episode number 40. So I know it gets a little bit confusing, but with summer coming and with fall festivals coming, I'm just going to take a break from Let's Vibe Podcast. I think I'm going to come back in August. So think of it as like a season finale in a way. I just need a break from the podcast at this point, and I really need to focus on myself and my business. And I really want to grow my YouTube channel with YouTube videos. And so right now I will be taking a hiatus from the podcast. It's been really great doing this podcast. And so just need to take a little bit of a break. I'll be back right before fall festivals start happening. This is just what feels really good to me, just to take a little summer hiatus for myself to really focus on some of my other goals with my business and with myself. You guys still get the full episode today, and you will get next week's episode. And then I will be off for a little bit. Just wanted to point that out. That way it doesn't come as such a surprise next week. But that's just what's been going on for me. A lot has been going on. I've just been expanding in so many ways, and I feel like I can barely catch my breath sometimes. And so it just feels really good to take a break from the podcast, and I hope you guys understand. So that's just some housekeeping item to talk about. I'm going to save the vibe check for next week as well, just to catch up with you guys, just because we do have a lot to talk about today with Seismic Dance Event, and I just want to make sure we have enough time for all of it. So vibe check will be in next week's episode. And without further ado, we can just get right into it. I will give you guys a song of the week. So for those that don't know, I do song of the week, and I put it all together in a Spotify playlist, which I will have in the show notes for you guys. I'm only keeping this part in because it was honestly the song of the weekend for me at Seismic Dance Event. I feel like a lot of people played this song. I heard it a lot, and I never heard the song before. And then we Shazammed it, and it goes off in a festival space, and it goes off when you're listening to it at home. So this week's song of the week is The Feeling by Masano. It just goes hard. You know what I mean? So good. Lee Foss played it. John Summit played it. I'm pretty sure Deborah DeLuca played a version of it at her after party. It's going to be a banger for this festival season for sure. Lee Foss definitely played it at the Fisher and Chris Lake show this past weekend. So yeah, that's the song of the week. I'm putting it in the playlist. Definitely go check it out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about Seismic Dance Event and all of that. And so For those that don't know, I was on the promoter team for Seismic Dance Event this year. I was on it since 2018. I've been promoting this festival. It first started in 2018, which has been really cool to see the progression and be a part of it. It started right here in Austin, Texas, where I live, and it was started by Real Music Events, which is owned by Andrew Parsons and Kelly Gray. They started Seismic Dance Event in 2018. They have been the main event promoters here in Austin for house and techno, I'd say. They bring a lot of great acts every year. And so in 2018, they started Seismic Dance Event. I have content from 2018, 2019, and 2021 all on my YouTube channel. I have vlogs, I have tip videos, all the things on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go check that out, if you're interested in attending future Seismics, I definitely recommend it. I also did vlog the whole event from 2021. I have separate vlogs for each day, even the day that got canceled, which I will talk about. So if you want to see how this whole experience kind of played out in the vlogs, you definitely can. Last thing I'll also say for you guys to check out is Concert Queen Connect is my friend Clarissa's podcast, ATX Concert Queens podcast. She is going to be having a podcast out with the owners, Andrew and Kelly, who are the festival producers. And so you're going to get my perspective as a festival attendee and their perspective from the festival producer side. So definitely check that out when it comes out. But yeah, like I said, Seismic Dance Event, this was its third time happening. This was Seismic Dance Event 3.3, and I'll talk about what that was. Basically, it's a boutique house and techno festival that is here in Austin, Texas. And so this was the third time it was happening, and 3.3 as they call it, because there were so many additions to come before this one actually happened. So this event was supposed to happen May 2020. And then it got moved to November 2020 with the pandemic because they were just trying to sort things out. And then it ultimately got moved to May of 2021 this year, hence the 3.3. So there's been a lot of changes, a lot of obstacles, a lot of hurdles for the Seismic Dance Event team to go through to get here. It was really awesome and exciting that they were able to pull it off this year. I felt like the city could really use it and the people could really use it. It was very small and intimate, capped at like 2,000, 2,500 capacity, I want to say. So it was kind of crazy going from, you know, a big festival like UBW, which was like about 30,000 a day, I want to say, capacity to Seismic Dance Event, which was a lot more smaller scale, but had really incredible festival production and event size production that made it feel like a legit festival. And so it's been crazy also seeing that growth from 2018 to 2021. Going into this year, they also made it 3 days, which was awesome. The years past, it was 2 days. So we had 3 days of fun. And it ended up being a 2-day event technically because of what had happened, which I will talk about and get to that. And so in these reviews I'm going all in, you guys. I'm talking about location. I'm talking about getting to and from the event, the entrance, festival experience, health and safety, new venue, all the sets we saw, some highlights from that. I'm going to go over some pros and cons and overall thoughts and feelings, personal lessons learned. Trying to think what else there is. That's probably it. Probably also like the overall vibe of the festival. So if you plan to go to Seismic Dance Event one day, you kind of know what to expect. And that's what I do as a festival content creator, being able to share, you know, my experience and being able to help others out. If they do decide to go to festivals like this one. I was really excited this year for Seismic Dance Event to happen because there was a new venue and it was 3 days. So there was lots of things that were going to be really exciting about this event. Also the first festival back in Austin. And there's always just great vibes at these festivals just because the Austin scene is so incredible. It is such a great community out here and everyone is so nice and so friendly. And I got to see friends that I hadn't seen since the pandemic started. So it was so many reunions, so many laughs, so many hugs shared, and just awesome. So many awesome things happened. Leading up to this event, there definitely was some tension kind of going into it from the attendee perspective, just because there were so many changes happening and there was a lot of concerns with weather. Of course, because we are having an event during a pandemic, there were some changes to the lineup that a lot of people were pretty upset about. Just because there were big names like Rainier Zonneveld, Charlotte DeWitt, Enrico San Giuliano. However, some of these artists just could not get their visas worked out in time. And so it's just kind of one of those things that you have to expect with the pandemic and how it's changing and everything like that. And so a lot of people were really upset kind of going into the event. with these changes. I was very indifferent. I was just like, you know what, I'll have other chances to see them. It is what it is kind of thing. That was just some of the feedback kind of going into it that Seismic had to deal with, on top of weather concerns and stuff like that as well, because the forecast was not looking too great. It was supposed to be thunderstorming all weekend long. Ended up not being that, and I'll talk more about that, but there was definitely some concerns for the weather and what's going to happen if the weather doesn't play out and stuff like that. I really commend the Seismic team for how much they had to deal with, kind of all these hurdles to get this event to happen. They also kept the event like with the same protocols and everything like that, just because the way that Texas opened up, its doors 100% open, no mask requirements, stuff like that. Seismic did also maintain their health and safety protocols, which is really respectable, just in terms of the entrance and stuff like that. The only thing that they really changed was it wasn't a pod style event anymore and masks weren't required. But otherwise, they kept the capacity the same, which I really liked. Felt a lot more intimate. I would be curious what that crowd would feel like having more people and what that capacity would actually look like. But I really enjoyed the size it was at. It felt really comfortable and intimate and great. So those were some of the challenges kind of going into the event. I was just kind of like, you know what, we get a festival, let's just kind of go with it. You know what I mean? It sucked that Charlotte and Enrico couldn't make it, but they ended up replacing them with Deborah and with Zoo. We also had some other replacements that were really awesome that I didn't get a chance to see for day 2, but hopefully we'll get to see them eventually. Like Blondish was supposed to play. She ended up playing the after party. And some other highlights like that. I can't remember off the top of my head because the new lineup is so ingrained in me because those were the sets that were on the set times and stuff. But I can't even really remember how many people got replaced. I know that there was a couple that people were upset about, but that was just kind of setting the stage for the weekend, right? And so 3-day festival, it happened May 21st through the 23rd at this new venue called the Concourse Project, which is out by the airport and McKinney Falls for my local Austin people. So it's a little bit out there. It's probably maybe 15 to 20 minutes from downtown, I would say, because that's probably about the distance to the airport. My boyfriend lives down south off of Slaughter area, and so it was probably about the same for us, like a 15 to 20 minute Uber ride. We ended up doing Ubers. We could have parked, I think, for like $20 a day, but we both just didn't want to have to worry about cars and driving and all that stuff. And so we ended up doing an Uber, and we reserved our Ubers ahead of time, which was a little bit more expensive, I think, because they kind of just set the rate for that. We did that and had no problem. And I definitely recommend at least scheduling an Uber for the way home, just because leaving at the same time as everyone else at like 2 a.m. or at 5 a.m. with the after party, you're going to get caught up in, having higher rates and stuff. So I definitely recommend that for future festivals. If you guys are scheduling Ubers, I definitely think that's the way to go. If you're taking Ubers, it was probably about $60 a day for us to do the Uber, which because we scheduled it ahead of time. So not terrible, kind of to be expected. And it was split between the two of us. If we had a bigger group, would be split between like 4 of us or 5 of us. So not too bad. If you did parking, that was $60 for the whole weekend that you had to reserve online. And so that's probably was the best bet for us. I know some people did like a party bus method or something like that for one of the days. So you can kind of go either way, whether you want to drive or Uber, depending on where you're coming from. And if you also have someone that can be a DD as well. On Friday and on day 3, we got there around 3 o'clock just because I like getting there early. A lot of the earlier people I want to see as well. And so we got there probably around 3 o'clock. They had separate entrances for both GA and VIP. And all you had to do was make sure that you had your wristband pickup. They had Thursday through Sunday. So if you had single day passes, you could pick it up. All you had to do was make sure that your verified app was verified. And so what that means is you had to show a negative test result or a vaccination card to show that you're fully vaccinated to get verified in the app to then pick up your wristband. And so we handled that on Thursday. Some people handled that day of. And we did the vaccine check, and my boyfriend Chase did a negative test check. And so it was $25 to get a negative test on site. You could also get a negative test outside of the festival. I think you had to do that like 48 hours before you entered to get the test done and uploaded and everything like that. So it got verified. And then once you got kind of like the green diamond, I want to say, then you could go pick up your wristband and get that all set up. And so that made it a little bit more seamless. We did that on Thursday. So that way when we showed up on Friday, we just had to go straight through security. I heard that there was some security issues on day one. If you went in later, I heard that it took a little bit. We were in VIP and we went early on day 3, so we didn't have to worry about that. It was pretty seamless, pretty easy. I just had to open up all the pockets in my hydration pack, and they just had a wand. I think because of COVID, they're not doing a lot of pat downs and stuff. Because that was also the case for Ubby Dubby. I think I walked through a metal detector at Ubby Dubby. So some things are changing with security wise because of COVID and stuff. So just something to think about, but pretty easy. And then once you walked in, they did also have a wristband activation area. So that was something else that was different for this festival, was they had it with your wristband. So you would attach a card to your wristband, like your debit card, credit card, whatever. And then anytime you went and bought something, you would just do a tap, enter your PIN, give a tip, and then sign it basically. I know bigger festivals like ACL does this, Coachella does this. So I really like that because it's just really easy to just do a simple tap. All you have to do is touch the screen and then you're done. You're not having to worry about whipping out cash, cards, stuff like that. Right when you walk in, you had a little activation station, and then we were in the venue. And so I showed footage in the vlog of what this venue actually looked like. I thought it was a great use of the space, and I really had no idea what to expect. I thought it was going to be more spread out for some reason, but it was pretty compact and really everything was easy to get to. Right when you walked in, you saw the volcano stage. There was also art installation, bar. They had bathrooms right when you walked in, and then they had the VIP section, which I will say the VIP section was really great because they were connected. So between the volcano stage and the tsunami stage, there was VIP sections for both of them, and they were connected. So you could stay in the VIP section, honestly, the whole time if you wanted to. We had friends that didn't have VIP, so we were hanging inside and outside, both VIP and not VIP. And so that was a really cool addition that I really liked. And then they had a refill water station. They had merch. They had vendors. And they had 3 food trucks. They had like a tamale food truck, a Southside Flying Pizza food truck, and then I think they had like another Mexican Bites food truck as well. And then they also had a lot of art installations. And so they had this really cool like mirror art installation right when you walk in. And then they had like a photo backdrop area where you could like pick which side you want to go on and get some photos. They had some light up installations that lit up at night. They had these really cool like seats throughout the venue where you could sit at them and they lit up. And so I really thought it was a great use of the space. The only thing I would really say is sound bleed was kind of an issue, but it really wasn't that bad depending on where you stood. And it was only bad if, say, someone at Volcano Stage was having more of like a quiet down moment. You can kind of hear the boots and the cats coming from the Tsunami Stage and like vice versa. But otherwise, really wasn't that bad. The overall production was incredible. It was like next level for Seismic Dance Event. Just thinking about the videos that I have from 2018 and 2019, it really was like the next level up. And being at the VIP deck for the volcano stage, it was just so cool to see it from, further back and get a whole view of it. And it at nighttime, like, just looked absolutely incredible. So the lights and production, like 10 out of 10. They also kept with like the red theme for the volcano stage with the lighting, and then the blues and greens for the tsunami stage. There was just those 2 stages this year. In years past, they've also had a local talent stage. So in 2019, I think it was called Sunken Garden because it was in this cool little nook of that venue. So I'm not quite sure what happened with the local stage. I think probably just like allowing that in the venue. Maybe they just weren't able to hold it. Maybe next year they'll be able to have it, or in the fall they'll be able to have it. So that was one thing that I was kind of like, oh, I wonder what happened to the local stage. They did have a lot of local talent kind of open the festival, which was really great to still have that local talent kind of be at play there. And so overall, venue, 10 out of 10, 15 out of 10. I love that venue. I'm excited to see what they do with it. That was all on the outside of that venue, the concourse. And so they're supposed to open the inside concourse, I think, later this summer. It's still under construction. So I'll really be interested to see what that inside's like. It looks like a smaller version of Rawhide for my Arizona people. It gives me very much warehouse vibes, but like smaller than Rawhide, at least in size. But I'm really interested to see what it'll look like. It looks like that'll be the venue for a lot of real music event shows to come. So I'm really interested to see what that'll be like. It'll definitely be different having to make the trek towards the airport compared to just being downtown for the shows. But they're bringing a lot of awesome people. Like they have Tiesto coming, Medusa's coming. Diplo's having a higher ground show. So there's a lot of exciting things definitely coming for the concourse that I'm excited to see what a show will be like there. And so I definitely think that that's like an awesome step for real music events to be able to have their own space like that. The more with the overall experience of the festival that I have to say, there was just really great vibes all around. You know, I said the Austin crowd is just so amazing. Having the changes to not having a pod style and also not having to wear a mask because everyone was vaccinated or had a negative test felt really great to not have to wear a mask and not have to worry about it for once, because it's just something that's been so ingrained in us to always be worrying about. And so to have a space that was so small and intimate where we didn't have to do that and we could be close quarters in a crowd together and just sing and dance and vibe out, it just felt really great to be able to do that. And so you could definitely tell everyone was just so happy to be back at a festival, and the vibes were just so amazing. And I just would always like look around and just be so happy, you know, seeing everyone having a good time. So yes, if I were to sum up like the overall vibes of Seismic Dance Event, it is like your typical house and techno festival, you know? So like take a house and techno show and then put that on a festival scale. So if you've been across, if you've been a movement, very similar vibes. Crowd's always really nice. You got your shufflers, you got your flow artists. You have all the amazing people that kind of make up that crowd. And everyone's just super nice and friendly and says excuse me and just like gives you your space and whatnot. I did not meet one bad person or had one bad crowd experience whatsoever. It just felt really signature to what the Austin scene is about and what the Austin community is about. That makes me really proud to be a part of this scene. That's how it feels when you go to Seismic Dance Event. For people that are curious about like outfits and stuff like that, a lot of people were wearing black, but a lot of people also were just wearing, you know, outfits to express themselves. I saw so many cute outfits out there. Really fun sets, really fun matching outfits and whatnot. And so if you're ever curious about what to wear, I do have a video on my YouTube channel, but I wore a bell-bottom set from Rave With Me Gente. It was definitely too hot to wear for day one, but I had no other options. I had some backup options and I didn't really love them. So that outfit, it went off. I got my hair braided by Beauty Mark ATX. She's the only braider I've met so far in Austin that does festival braids. She did a really amazing job. So if you're curious, so if you ever want to check her out, she's the Beauty Mark ATX on Instagram. Definitely book ahead if you have some festivals coming up you want some braids for. She's so amazing and so sweet. So yeah, I wore that outfit day one. And it was very hot to wear, but then it ended up cooling down, so it was fine. I braved it for the fit, for sure. I wore my Doc Martens. I also, you guys, did not get blisters from my Doc Martens this time around. I was so happy. My girl, it's Becky Vibes. She's a YouTuber, Instagrammer. She's more on up and coming, smaller creator. And she recommended these like heel squishy things that you put on your heel and then you put your socks over it. I did not get blisters. I was so happy. And so I'll link those in the description for you guys to get them from Amazon. I got like a pack of 5. I had those and I had these thick socks from Doc Marten and my feet were great. My feet were hurting from like, you know, standing for so long and dancing. But other than that, my feet felt amazing. No blisters here. We love that for me. And then day 2, did more of a schoolgirl type outfit, 90s vibes type outfit. Definitely will try and wear that outfit again because I only wore it out to a show. Which I'll talk about all that. And then day 3, I did all black, comfortable house head type outfit. I had a So Butterfly shirt that said house head. I had some black kind of latexy shorts that were really stretchy and comfortable from Amazon, Doc Martens, and then I had a jacket from Dirty Bird that I thought was rain material, but it wasn't rain material because it just soaked up all the rain. So I ended up wearing all black. However, not everyone wears all black. That's just kind of the vibes I went with. I know Chase, he only wore all black, I think, on the last day. I want to say, I forgot what he wore on day 2. I think he wore a black shirt on day 2, but just to kind of give you guys an idea about the vibes with the fits and everything, because I know some people are curious about it. You really can get away with whatever you want, and then also just make sure you're wearing something that's comfortable because it does get hot and humid. Here in Texas, even though it was like rainy and cloudy and stuff, it was pretty humid and hot. So I definitely had my fan and everything ready to go as well. Now let's do the daily recap. So like I said, it was a 3-day festival. However, it ended up being a 2-day festival because we had a cancellation in the middle of the weekend. So I'll talk about that when we get to day 2. Day 1, it was a movie. I was saying it was a movie. It was just felt so perfect being back at a festival again, even though I just went to Ubby Dubby. Seismic Dance Event just felt different and it felt really good and it was a lot of fun. Chase and I were saying that Seismic felt more fun than Ubby, and we really couldn't put our finger on why. It's just, I think Ubby Dubby was just overwhelming in general from all areas. Like just so many people, huge festival. Like, I kind of wish we went to Seismic first just to like ease back into it, because Ubby Dubby, like when I look back on it, it was just like, whoa, like overwhelming first festival back. Good time. We had a great time, but very overwhelming. So Seismic Dance Event was like, okay, we feel comfortable again being back at a festival. Now we can like be good and ease into it. You know what I mean? And so day 1 was a great day. Honestly, it was just a little hot here and there. For me personally, then once it cooled down, it cooled down. We got a little sprinkle here and there during Spencer Brown's set. We got a rainbow moment during Spencer Brown's set, which was really cool. I did not know that he came out over quarantine as gay. I didn't know that. And so I remember one of my subscribers, Grant, was like, the gay energy on that stage of Spencer Brown being on stage with a rainbow is just like iconic. And I'm like, yeah, that's so iconic. I had no idea. But yeah, let's talk about the sets I saw. So I saw Cian. I don't know how you pronounce that, but he opened on the Volcano stage, was really great. More like deep melodic tech house, I want to say. Tech, maybe? I don't know. I'm going to be all over the place explaining these genres, you guys, because once you get into house and techno subgenres, it's just confusing. Like describing all of these, because some were more house, but then also a little bit more tech, and like there was a blend for sure. On the Volcano stage, that was primarily more techno and like deep house, melodic house, and also like melodic techno, if that's a thing, you know what I mean? And then the Tsunami stage was more like house, tech house, like actual tech house, and like uppity house, bass. There was maybe one bass house artist, but didn't really play bass house, groovy house, stuff like that. And another thing I will say that I noticed with a lot of these artists is that because it's a primarily house and techno festival, I think that gives them a lot of room to really like go for it and not necessarily play like a more mainstream type set. And what I mean by that is like they can really just be more experimental because everyone there loves house or they love techno. Whereas if it was like a festival like EDC, like they might play more mainstream banger type music that's more popular or more well known. Whereas at a house and techno festival, they're playing more music that they can really take it somewhere. Another awesome thing about it being a smaller festival is that almost all the artists, except for the ones in the earlier time slots, had 90-minute to 2-hour sets. And so that's another area where like the artist can really take you on a journey, and it really feels like they're not going from like one of their popular songs to the next popular song to the next popular song. Like they really just had time to play around with it and kind of just take you on a journey, which I thought was really great. And it was really awesome to have that. And so that was definitely something I wanted to mention. Having longer sets, more than 60 minutes, especially for house and techno, just really takes you somewhere. And I love it. I'm here for it. You know what I mean? And so we saw Cian. And then the first set we saw was West End. I really wanted to see West End. He also opened the after party. So we caught a little bit of his. And then we ended up seeing the beginning of John's Summit. I was curious what his intro was going to be because we're also going to the after party. So we didn't want to see the full John Summit set since we were going to the after party. His beginning was really great. He has this remix of a Sophie Tucker song. I don't know if it's released. I don't think it's released yet. I don't know if it's gonna be released, but that was played a couple of times. I know Lee Foss also played it at some point. And then John Summit also played it. And so saw the beginning of John Summit. Then we went over to Agents of Time. They replaced a couple people on the lineup. So there was some replacements on the lineup on day one that I had talked about. Agents of Time was one of the additions for Friday, which I was really interested to check them out because they were at the same time as John Summit. So we were like, we might as well go check out Agents of Time. My friend Kaylee really likes them. I really enjoyed them. Their vibe was just like super cool on stage. And then they also just had like a deep melodic uppity tech house vibe. I don't know how to describe it. But I really enjoyed their set. I was really surprised by it. It definitely went on a journey to different parts and stuff. Like there was some more smooth, deep melodic parts, and then there was more uppity type melodic parts. And like by the end, like everyone was jamming and having a good time. So Agents of Time was a great time. We saw the beginning of Spencer Brown. I kind of wish we saw more of Spencer Brown because I heard he really turned it up towards the end of the set. The beginning of the set was really great. I was vibing, but I was also really hungry. So we ended up going to get some food. We got food at the Southside Flying Pizza truck. So that was really great. And then we ended up seeing the end of Sasha Robati. Chase had never seen Sasha Robati. Sasha Robati was a good time. He played Let's Go Dancing by Tiga. He played some other really good bops. And so Sasha Robati's always a good time. We ended up getting to be up close in VIP for that one. And then that led into the king, Lee Foss. Oh my God, you guys. Lee Foss killed it. Like he killed it. He left no crumbs. No crumbs were left. It was so funny. One of the drops that Lee Foss did towards the end, my boyfriend Chase said he just went like, no, it's done. Like game over kind of thing. Cause he just knew he tore up that set. And that was my highlight. That was like my number one set of the day, probably of the weekend, was Lee Foss. It completely exceeded any and all expectations. I think seeing his live stream sets, I was like, oh, he's probably going to keep like a chill vibe and like he's going to play like, you know, his most popular songs. And like, I don't even think he played, I think he maybe played like one or two of his more well-known songs. But other than that, didn't play any of his stuff that I know of and just like went for it and took us all on a journey. So much fun. Tech house kind of vibe. It was definitely tech house. It was just such a good time. We had such a good time at that set. Definitely want to see Lee Foss every chance I get. He's starting to get up there, you guys, for me, like Chris Lake. Like, I know I love Chris Lake so much. He will always be at that top for me. But like Lee Foss and like Repopulate Mars artists are like getting up there for me as well, which is his record label. Like I'm becoming such a stan for that record label, honestly. So Lee Foss was definitely a highlight. We did catch a little bit of Claude Von Stroke. I'm not going to throw Chase under the bus here, but he didn't like Claude, which I get because Claude, this is what I was talking about. Claude did a not typical Claude set, and I think he got a little bit more experimental with it. Like I thought I was at a Barclay Crenshaw set at first, you know what I mean? That's where he kind of took it. He took it more like experimental house, experimental tech house, like Dirty Bird kind of vibes. He played some of his more well-known songs, but in between that, like I felt like it was more of like a Barclay Crenshaw set, which is like his alter ego set, but like that's his actual name, Barclay Crenshaw. Claude Von Stroke's not his actual name, Barclay Crenshaw is, and so he does play Barclay Crenshaw sets from time to time. So it felt like he was blending the two, and I talked to another girl in the crowd that is also a fan of Dirty Bird, and she was like, yeah, this is not your typical Claude Von Stroke set. And I think if Chase had seen the Claude Von Stroke set I saw at Imagine, he would think very differently about it. So it was just a different vibe. I was enjoying the set personally, but to each their own. It's all good. He still loves house music. It's just maybe Claude wasn't his type of taste. It's all good. And then we close out the night with Deep Dish, which is composed of Dubfire and Sharam, I want to say. They had a really awesome set. Their set was definitely more melodic house, and then it blended up into techno and kind of ended out on a techno kind of note. That was my first time seeing Deep Dish. I was really excited to see them because my cousin's husband, Brett, who used to rave in the 90s in Austin, when I showed him the lineup for Seismic Dance Event, he was like, oh, Deep Dish. You have to go see Deep Dish. And I was like, all right, heard. And so we went to Deep Dish. That was a really good set. Had a really great time. And then we went to the after party. So the after party was at Mala Santo, which is right there. So we literally just had to walk around and walk inside to that venue. I don't know what that venue is normally used for. I think maybe for shows, but I've never been to a show there or have heard people going to shows there. But I like that venue. West End opened for John Summit, and that was more like of a nighttime set, which I liked that set a little bit more than his daytime set. Daytime, the energy is going to be different. You're playing kind of more like daytime stuff that's energetic and whatnot. But when you're in a dark venue room like that venue, he was definitely going there with like some camel fat and like packs and stuff like that, which was really great. And then John Summit came on. So John Summit, I think he played from like 2:30 or like 3 o'clock until 5 a.m. We ended up leaving at 4:30 just to kind of beat traffic. That's when we scheduled our Uber for. That set was really awesome. It was a really good time. Definitely played a lot of my favorites. He played a lot of his stuff, but then also played a lot of other people's stuff. He did do this Darude Sandstorm edit, which was really great and super cool. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, I definitely was happy to check off John Summit, seeing him for the first time. I get why a lot of people love his sets, especially his after party sets. And definitely have him on my list to check out again. And I definitely think you guys should as well. And if Lee Foss is on your lineup, you definitely should go check out Lee Foss because I'm the biggest stan right now. For day 2, this is where we get into what went down with day 2 with the festival cancellation. And so we had woken up probably maybe around 11, I want to say. And we were under the impression of like, okay, we got to get ready and go. So we can leave around 3 o'clock, get there, get to the venue, get situated because I wanted to see Annabelle at 5 p.m. We wake up, we start, kind of getting ready for the day. And then Seismic Dance Event posts that they are delaying doors until 5 p.m. because of weather. And a lot of people were confused about that because, the weather forecast wasn't really showing anything, too crazy. The clouds were like not that bad. The sun was shining, stuff like that. And so they said it was because of weather. And so we were all like, all right, like that's fine. Like we'll just kind of like chill out a little bit more until, we can go. And so we were like, we'll plan to leave at 4:30. That gave us a little bit more time just to chill. I think Chase took a nap. I just hung out, and we got ready to go. And as we were leaving at 4:30, our Uber was literally downstairs. They post about how they have to cancel for day 2. I literally got a text from my friend Kaylee and she was like, yeah, it's canceled. And I was like, what? And so go to Instagram and they had posted that because of the infrastructural damages from the weather, they're not able to open. And so what that actually meant was I had seen some videos and some posts that there was a lot of flooding, like the merch booth got flooded. There was a lot of flooding from the rain that had happened earlier in the day, earlier in the morning, I think it was. They tried to clean up the venue as best as possible, but there was still some like infrastructural things that made the event unsafe to happen. And so when you're talking about like infrastructure stuff, you're probably looking at like, stage stuff, like if anything could potentially fall apart and like hurt someone. Flooding is not great. Being able to like having to have a lot of attendees walk through that if you're not able to kind of like drain that in time or get enough like mulch to cover it. That could lead to some issues as well. Also, the parking lot was very flooded as well. So you're looking at potentially cars getting stuck and not being able to leave when the event ends. And so from my understanding, it looked like they just didn't have enough time to clean it up for attendees to come. They tried doing it whenever they could until, those doors were going to get open. But at the end of the day, there was a risk management team or a health and safety team or whatever that team is that made the call that like this event can't happen today. That was really sad and really unfortunate. I was really excited for the artists that day, like Side Piece. Annabelle Ungland was my number one must see. So it was kind of a bummer about that. But I get it. These things happen, you know. We saw it happen with Abduction Orlando that got canceled the day of as people were there because of a thunderstorm coming through and like poles were flying around that could potentially hit people. I think a pole did hit someone. So it was ultimately just one of those calls that had to be made for the safety of others. And people were not happy, you know, people traveled out for this event, they paid for this event. And so for a full day to get canceled is a pretty big deal on both ends. It's a big deal for the attendee side. It's a big deal for the festival side. And so, from there we were like, okay, what do we do from here? And so they did announce that the Nicole Moda Bear party would still be happening, the after party. It would be going from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m., which before it was like 1:30 to 5 a.m. I want to say. So they extended the hours for that and they were able to add some more people to the lineup like Blondish, Tara Brooks, and I forgot who the other person was that got added to that after party lineup. And so we were like, all right, let's try and get tickets to the after party because at least that'll be going on. So try to get some after party tickets was very unsuccessful. I was getting scammers left and right. I was having people use like Eventbrite ticketing emails. I was having people use fake emails. And I was like, you know what? This is probably not going to work out getting these tickets. And so I put all my feelers out there and we're like, let's just go get dinner. We'll figure it out. We had seen people post about like potentially throwing something because artists were still in town. So like Walker and Royce tweeted about something, Side Piece tweeted about something. So there was definitely like, you know, something's going to happen. And we also are blessed to be in Austin where there's so many different venues and clubs and stuff we could go to. So worst case, we could make the most of it. You know what I mean? It wasn't until we were at dinner that Seismic Dance Event then posted, okay, we hear you guys. We're making things work. We're going to figure this out. The show must go on. We're going to play some of the artists at some of these venues. And so the Seismic Dance Event team then, you know, scrambled to get these venues to be able to have some of these artists and get all that sorted out. So they were working very quickly to make that happen. However, there was still, you know, chit chat going around of like who's playing at what venues are going to be open. Art Bat did post on their stories, which I think contributed to some chaos of, they posted to their stories before Seismic Dance Event made the official announcement that they were playing at Summit from like 10:30 to midnight. And so that got posted around. It was getting out everywhere. And I think that contributed to the line at Summit. And so we were at dinner, I think from 7 till about like almost 8 o'clock. And then we were like, or 7:45 maybe. And so then we finally get home, we get changed, we get ready, we get an Uber, and we're downtown around 8:30. In that time span, that's when Seismic Dance Event posts the official announcement of, okay, here's what's going on. At Summit, there's going to be the Martinez Brothers and Art Bat. At Cedar Street, there's going to be Walker and Royce, Black V-Neck, and Bob Moses. And at Vulcan, there's going to be Side Piece and Subset. And so we were all like, okay, let's just go to Summit. Let's see what can happen. We wanted to see Art Bat and the Martinez Brothers, as did a lot of people, because those were the main headliners that day. And you could also still go to Nicole Moda Bear if you had tickets, which Nicole Moda Bear was one of the other headliners. And so a lot of people wanted to see Art Bat and the Martinez Brothers. We definitely did. A lot of our friends were going to that event. So we made it out there around 8:30 and the line was already crazy. We hopped in line and we were still pretty close, I felt like, but we weren't able to get in ultimately because there was a lot of line cutting. There was a lot of people paying to cut the line. There was a lot of people using their looks with the bouncers. There was just a lot of chaos going on. I felt like I was back at like my alternative days where I had to like try and rush to get to the rail at like an all-time low set or something. You know what I mean? That's how crowded it felt like. I'd never been in a line like that because it was first come, first serve. All you had to do was show your wristband to get in. And so I think what caused the chaos was a lot of the venue's management of the situation. and, you know, allowing people to cut or not having like a streamlined line, because they had these guard railings, but only for like the first section of people. There was a whole other section of people where people were just standing on the outside of the line basically and was able to funnel in that way. So that was kind of chaotic, and we ended up not being able to get into, you know, the Martinez brothers and Art Bat. We did get an offer to go to a table. However, I think I was going to be dropping like almost $400 to get in that table. And to see Art Bat and Martinez brothers, I'm like, I could just find them another time. Martinez brothers are going to be at ARC. I'll find another chance to see Art Bat. It wasn't until I was standing in line and I hear Underwater by Annabelle Englund and MK, and I hear her singing, and I'm like, is that coming from a car? Like, where is that coming from? I check her story and she's literally opening for Art Bat and Martinez brothers. It just wasn't announced. And my eyes almost started watering, because I was just like, that was who I really wanted to see for the day. Like, literally, I could not shut up to Chase about how excited I was for Annabelle Englund. And just to know that I was standing outside the club and couldn't get in to see my girl, it hurt on another level. You know what I mean? But it was all good. You know, we waited in that line for maybe an hour, 15, hour and a half, until we realized, okay, we're not getting in, you know? And so I then take a look at Cedar Street stories. I look at Black V-neck stories. Cedar Street looks super packed. That was the next best option because it was right around the corner. I bet a lot of other people either got to that line early or they saw the Art Bat Martinez brothers line and just ended up going to Cedar Street. We probably should have just gone to Cedar Street seeing that line. I just didn't know what capacity was. I heard some people saying 200, 400. And it wasn't until I found out that between all four of the venues, they could hold 600 and 900 people. And I had someone also send me a video from inside of Summit, and I was like, yeah, there's no way we're getting in. It already looked super full, which I was kind of bummed about because I've never been to Summit and I'd love to give that venue a chance and see something there, but that'll come another time. So then we made the choice to go to Vulcan. So we got to Vulcan. Their doors weren't opening until 10:30, almost 11, just because they had a comedy show. And so we ended up showing up. They had a line going for the comedy show. We started just standing to the side of it, and the security manager or whatever, he got really mad at us because he was like, you guys can come back for that show. And we're like, you don't get it. Like, all the lines everywhere are crazy. We're going to wait right here because, you know, we want to be able to get into this venue. And so he ended up letting us like start a line basically. So we were at the front of the line for Vulcan for a side piece. So it ended up working out. And we waited in that line for maybe an hour-ish. And then they had to clear out everyone from the comedy show and reset it. And then they were able to bring in everyone for side piece. Side piece was not packed at all. I don't know if it was a matter of people just kind of gave up or if that was the actual capacity and they capped it at some point, because there was a lot of space for Vulcan. Like, Vulcan can get super packed as a venue, and it wasn't. And so we saw 30 minutes of subset. They let him play for 30. He threw down because I think he had only 30 minutes. So he was like, I'm just going to go for it. And then we saw Side Piece, and Side Piece's set was absolutely amazing. They killed it. I was so happy to see them for the first time. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Lee Foss was a highlight. Side Piece was a highlight. Definitely two really good house sets that you guys need to see this festival season, or this year in general. And we had an awesome time. You know, it was what it was for the festival to get canceled. I think it was great that Seismic was able to act so quickly and be able to provide a space for people to still have fun. I feel bad for people that might not have seen anything. I know some of my friends didn't. There were some friends of mine that didn't see anything because they couldn't get in anywhere. And they ended up just going to some other venues in Austin, like Coconut Club, or they just went out. And so I know it was just a scramble for a lot of people, which kind of added to the chaoticness of the night. Having to adapt to that situation. And yeah, like I said, I thought it was great that Seismic was able to do that. It was just one of those things where we all had to adapt to the situation, as the festival had to adapt and we had to adapt as attendees to still figure it out and have a good time. I can't get mad at people like cutting line or like paying to cut line or like whatever they did, because, you know, we were all just trying to have a good time and make the most out of the day and the trip and the festival and everything like that. we also had some worries that day 3 was going to get canceled as well, which thankfully it didn't, because they were able to figure it out how they can have the event on day 3. And so they were able to bring more mulch in. They were able to make some changes to make it more safe. So day 3 ended up happening, and day 3 was a great time. I had an awesome time day 3. That's how the festival, it felt like that's how the festival should go. You know what I mean? So all in all, I thought it was really great that they were able to pull it together so that day 3 could happen. We did end up buying after party tickets for day 3 because we thought, oh, in case it gets canceled, we'll at least have the after party tickets for day 3. And so we treated day 3 like any other festival day. We had a great time. We ended up getting a lot more sleep because side piece ended at like 2:15, I want to say. So they played for like almost 2 hours. And so we got home around like 3, passed out, woke up. Seismic had tweeted that they're a go for today. Pack your rain boots, plan accordingly for the weather. Try and ride share if you can, because the parking lot was still kind of iffy in some parts. And so we got ready to go, and we ended up getting there around 3 p.m. We saw Lucati. I was a little bit surprised by the set. I thought it would be a little bit more bass house. It had a nice groove to it for sure. But I expected a little bit more bass house from him a little bit, but was still a good time. The Sponges was so much fun. Funky house in the rain, a vibe, a total vibe. We had a great time. Funky house, that's had such a nice groove to it. So I definitely recommend checking out the Sponges. DJ Tennis was a really great time at Volcano Stage. We saw a really great shuffle meetup moment happen. I want to see a full DJ Tennis set, but I'm glad we at least got to see some of it. That led into Paco Osuna's set, which was an awesome techno set. Oh, I saw the beginning of it, and then I ended up having to leave to go to Vanessa. But I definitely want to catch Paco again at some point, because I was literally thriving with my girls. My girls that I was with, we were having a good time. Chase had gone over to Vanessa, and I went and saw the beginning of Paco. And then I ended up getting to go backstage for Vanessa. So I did have a backstage pass. For those, I did have a backstage pass as a reward for being a promoter and selling being in the top 2 sellers of tickets. So thank you guys that used my code, because you guys got to give me really cool experiences like that. So I ended up knowing someone that works for Dirty Bird, and she ended up bringing me up backstage for Vanessa's set. So that was like a really cool moment. I just had like a moment of just like immense gratitude for myself and for the brand I started and for the people that support me. And I just felt so proud of myself. Like, wow, I really get to be up here. You know what I mean? And getting to have that backstage view of things was really incredible. Because our backstage pass allows us to be backstage, but we can't really go on stage. But she was able to get us on backstage basically. So that was really awesome. And I really loved that Vanessa set. I'm really glad I got a chance to see her because we missed her at Ubby Dubby. And then we got to see Phantoms, which a lot of people were asking me about this set. It was more so like a feel-good groove type set. Like, it was house, and they played like some Gorgon City. They played some other stuff. It was just a really good feel-good set. That's all I'll really say about it. We didn't get to see the full set because we caught the end of Deborah DeLuca to get a good spot for Blacklist. But Phantoms overall, I really would love to see a full set of theirs. I hope they come on tour, or I have another chance to see them, because I thought that full set would have been really incredible, feel good, that kind of thing. We saw the end of Deborah DeLuca. Even though we were going to go to her after party, we had some friends that weren't going to the after party, and we wanted to be with them for the set. Deborah DeLuca is an amazing person. I literally tweeted, I was like, I want to be Deborah DeLuca when I grow up, because like, she's an icon, she's a queen, she's legendary, she's amazing. Her techno set just took me on a journey, and she had some really amazing edits of some songs that we know. And her and Charlotte DeWitt, definitely my top 2 favorite techno artists, hands down. It was sad that Enrico and Charlotte couldn't make it, but like, Deborah DeLuca definitely made it all worth it. Blacklist was also amazing. So for those that don't know, Zoo is Blacklist alter ego, more techno alter ego. I saw Blacklist on Holy Ship 2019, and that was really awesome. I was on my last leg of that festival because it was the last set, but this set definitely topped it. And Chase's favorite artist is Zoo, so it was really cool to see him. He was like a kid on Christmas morning, you know what I mean, getting to see his favorite artist, so that was really cool. And then we ended with the Deborah DeLuca after party, and that was also so much fun. We definitely went hard because that's our last festival until September. She played this milkshake edit of, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and it was techno edit, and I lost all my marbles. It was absolutely amazing. So incredible. I highly recommend Deborah DeLuca. We'll definitely get a chance to see her at ARC, so that'll be really great. So some highlights from day 3, definitely the Deborah DeLuca set and the Blacklist set. Those were my favorites. So overall, top sets of the weekend: Lee Foss, Side Piece, John Summit, Deborah DeLuca, and Blacklist. That's like my top 5. But everyone killed it. Everyone did an amazing set. Everyone did a great job. Those were just kind of like my top artists. Man, this has been a loaded episode, you guys. So wrapping it up here, just some overall pros and cons. I'd say the music was a pro. The crowd was a pro. New venue and experience, definitely a pro. VIP experience, also a pro. The cons, the weather. It's not COVID that's going to take out festival season. It's not necessarily people taking out festival season. It's the weather. That's, our main enemy of festivals happening. You know what I mean? And having these festivals have to adapt to this ever-changing weather, especially in Texas. Like I said, in my recap, this is the more wet year we've had. Like, it's May and we're getting a lot more showers and a lot less flowers, if you get what I mean. We would have been done with the rain in April, normally. So it's definitely been an interesting weather year for Texas. And I don't know if that's from global warming or what it's from, but it kind of needs to figure it out because we have rain in the forecast all week this week and I'm not about it, I would just say that was the only other con. I'm not going to call the day 2 cancellation a con because that was just one of those situations where we all just had to adapt to it. And so the festival adapted, we adapted. I might say the con of people cutting line and people doing that might be a con, but we were all just trying to do our best just to have a good time, So I can't really make that a con, and I can't really blame Seismic for it or any of that on Seismic. And I can't really blame the people for it, for how they reacted. We were all just trying to adapt to the situation. So that's where I stand with that on some pros and cons. Personal lessons learned. I forgot to mention this. I lost my umbrella on day 3. I put it in this pocket of the lunchbox that I thought it was going to stay in, and it didn't. Side note, I'm now an ambassador for Lunchbox, so if you need a hydration pack this festival season, definitely get one because I love that hydration pack now. I'm definitely a stan. You can use Vibe with A to save on a skin for your hydration pack and look extra fleek this festival season. But yeah, definitely worth the investment. But I did lose my umbrella. That was all my fault. So that was definitely a personal lesson learned. And then the last one is festival cancellations stink, but they happen. You just have to keep going with it. And also understand that it takes a lot for the festival to cancel. It really does take a lot for them to make that call and for the teams to make that call. And so try and have more of an understanding and empathetic perspective when those things happen, and just know the festival, they want it to happen just as badly as you do. You know what I mean? For them to make calls like that, it is extremely difficult, and you'll definitely get more insight on the ATX Concert Queen Connect episode with the owners, Kelly and Andrew. So definitely stay tuned for that. And that's all I'll really say on that, is that it was a crappy situation, but it was what it was. We all had to adapt and learn from it. Wrapping up here, looking forward. Like I said, it's been really crazy seeing this festival grow from what it was in 2018. It's been really awesome to be a part of that and be able to share this festival with you guys as well. I know a lot of people attended Seismic Dance Event this year because of me, or they have plans to attend because of me. And it really is a great festival. It really is special, and it's been really awesome to see that growth from 2018 to 2021. And I'm excited to see how it keeps growing along with real music events here in Austin. And yeah, I just feel really proud to be a part of this scene and be a part of the community, be a part of the growth, to put Austin on that map and everything. I am excited to see what's to come. So they will have Seismic Dance Event 4.0 in the fall. I think it also falls on the same weekend as EDC Orlando. So that's just something to think about. But overall, I'm really happy I went. I had an amazing weekend. Thank you to everyone that said hello to me. I love you guys. Vibe Tribe was strong at Seismic Dance Event, as it always is. It felt really cool to meet a lot of you guys. You know, I went through a whole pandemic just chugging out content, getting content out to you guys. And sometimes you don't know where these things are going. And so it's always awesome for me to get to meet you guys and put some faces to names and, you know, really meet the people that I get to impact every day. And so thank you for saying hi to me. Thank you for all the support on all the Seismic content. I don't know what's to come next for me other than just taking a break and really focusing on myself, focusing on the coaching business. And then we have the fall festivals coming up. With my first one being ARC in September. And so since that one is also a house and techno festival, I feel like there will be some house and techno festival content to come. Since now I've been to Crossed, I've been to Seismic, and I will go to ARC. I've been to Dirty Bird. I'm trying to think if there's any other one. Oh, I still have not been to Movement. So that will probably be a move for me next year, potentially. So I'll get the full scoop on all the house and techno festivals for you guys. But Seismic Dance Event was definitely a great time. I'm so glad I went. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will link everything I can in the description, whether it is, you know, the vlogs, the recap. If you want the more Spark Notes version, I went all in on this recap. I'm looking at the time, like almost an hour of talking. And so let me know if you guys have any questions. If you did enjoy today's content, feel free to share it with a friend. Tag me on your Instagram stories and everything like that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and all those things. Write me a review, all that. You know, I love this podcast and I hope you guys have been enjoying it as well. Like I said, I'll be taking a break after next week's episode. I'll be doing a season finale and I'm excited for the guests. So stay tuned for all of that. I love you guys. Thank you for the support. Thank you so much for vibing with me today. And I will see you guys in the next one. Stay vibey, Vibe Tribe. Bye.